Hey guys, this is your girl Lira, and you're listening to Self Reflection Podcast. Thank you guys for joining me on another episode of Self Reflection Podcast. I hope and I pray that this podcast episode finds you in the best possible state that you could be in for yourself in today. And if you're not doing your best, because we're not always doing our best, I want to remind you in this moment to create some time to do some self reflection. Either today or sometime this week. Whether if that is you meditating, going on a walk, praying, spending time with yourself in silence, right? Also talking to someone that might give you feedback on what you have going on. I just want to remind you in this moment to create some time to do some self reflection, right? Sometimes self reflection doesn't always have to be by yourself, it could be with somebody else as well. So, seek out support if you need that support in this moment. I want to thank you again for joining me on Self Reflection Podcast. I am excited to be here. I'm excited to be talking about this topic that we're going to be talking about today. But before we get into our conversation, I want to remind you that if you have yet to subscribe to Self Reflection Podcast, please pause right now and go ahead and hit that subscription button. Also, if you're not following me on Instagram or on TikTok, please go ahead and do so. You can connect with me at Lira, Lira underscore Ndifon. Again, that is Lira, Lira underscore Ndifon. Also, don't forget to leave your comments. I would love to hear what you think about self reflection podcast. I will also love to hear some topics that you would like for us to discuss on this platform. So let's not waste no more time. Let's get into our topic for today. Today, we are going to be talking about healthy mindsets versus unhealthy mindset. I am changing the word healthy mindset and unhealthy mindset because I didn't want to use positive mindset versus negative mindset because I think that I fall victim of this because I say negative mindset and positive mindset a lot as well. But I think that I want us to be able to change the perspective in which we look at our mental health, right? I want us to change it from negative to positive, from healthy to unhealthy, right? Because when we change it in that perspective, we now look at it as something that needs healing from, right? Because when we say the body is sick, right, we're unhealthy, then we find ways to become healthy, right? So that's what I wanted to do here today. I'm going to talk about some couple topics that I have on this paper. And then, I'm going to talk about unhealthy mindsets first, and then I'm going to switch and talk about healthy mindsets as well. So, the first thing that I have down here on this paper is living in the past, right? When you are living in the past, that is, I would say that that is an unhealthy mindset because I want to also drop some statistic here. 80% of our thoughts are on repeat. Also, they are our past thoughts, right? So, a lot of us, when we are feeling depressed, is because we're living in the past, right? And most of the time, like I said, 80% of your thought is on repeat. And because your thought is on repeat, you are now thinking about the stuff that happened in the past, maybe an hour ago, right? Let's say someone pissed you off, you're upset about that. You are thinking about that, something that happened an hour ago, and you're thinking about it in the now, which is making you upset. Also, let's say, 10 years ago, something traumatic happened to you, right? But you still feel that impact heavily in your body today. That's because you're living in the past, right? Another statistic here says, you know, um, 85% to 95% of our thoughts are actually negative, right? So imagine that, you're living in the past, right? 80% of your thoughts is something that you're thinking about it over and over, and they're negative thoughts. Imagine how unhealthy your mindset could be, right? And the reason why, like I said, I'm choosing to say unhealthy is because when we put it in the health perspective, now we got to think about it as how can I get healthier, right? How can I switch that 80% of my negative thoughts to become more healthy, right? And then the next thing I want to talk about is fear of missing out. A lot of us are so afraid of missing out, whether if it's us missing out in on a business adventure, right? Whether if it's us missing out with hanging out with friends, whether if it's us missing out on, the next opportunity that we think we should be having, right? A lot of us are afraid of missing out. So therefore we don't even take the chance to want to pursue whatever we want to pursue, right? And that is an unhealthy way of living, because when you are afraid that you're going to miss out on something, most of the time it leaves you stagnant. You stay in the same place, which means that when you're staying in that same place, there's no room for growth, right? And when there's no room for growth, your mindset become unhealthy, right? The stuff we call negative mindset. You become more depressed. You even feel anxiety, right? You feel overwhelmed because you are staying stuck in the same place. And because you are staying stuck in that same place, you are now afraid of also making mistakes. And because you're afraid of making mistakes, you end up making more mistakes over and over. And that's why sometimes we find ourselves making the same mistakes, not because that we're not getting new opportunities in our life, is because we are in that same situation that isn't allowing us to see a different perspective, right? Because we're so afraid of making mistakes, we end up now repeating the same mistakes over and over. I can use this example here when we talk about dating the same type of people, right? A lot of time we gravitate towards the same type of people in our life, not because those people don't change, it's because we see the same thing in those same people that allow us to continue to gravitate towards them. And because we gravitate towards those same people, we feel that same pain and that same hurt over and over. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but if you find yourself dating the same type of person over and over, therefore is you staying stuck in a certain type of mindset, right? Because when we're stuck in a certain type of mindset, there's no room for us to see a different type of perspective out there. Also, the next thing I want to talk about when it comes down to unhealthy mindset is when you are constantly complaining, right? I fall victim of this, because especially when before I gained the consciousness of like understanding that when I complain about things, right, what I actually experience is more things that are going to allow me to complain about it, right? And the more that I complain about something in my life, the more that I saw that I didn't have gratitude for the things that I actually have in my life, right? And gratitude is one of those things that when you have, it allows you to see that other things in your life are going well. And then from that perspective, now you can feel more positive experience. You can have more positive experience. You can now have less things to complain about, because the more you complain, the more negative energy you feel in your body, right? And the more negative energy you feel, that's how your thought is, because your thoughts makes the allows you to feel the way you feel, and the way you feel generates more of those same type of anxiety thoughts that you don't want to feel, right? So when we look at complaining, or when you look at yourself complaining a lot, ask yourself, like, what are you complaining about? And ask yourself, is that healthy for you, right? Is that allowing you to grow? Is that allowing you to shift your perspective? Is that allowing you to see things differently? Is that allowing you to have gratitude for what you actually have in your life in the moment, right? Because I think a lot of us miss this, and I think gratitude is one of the things that allow us to grow, allow us to shift from where we are in our life, right? Because when you have, let's say you have gratitude for, just the fact that you wake up in the morning, right? You now have gratitude for the fact that you have breakfast. You now have gratitude for the fact that you have to go to work, or you can go to work, right? When you have gratitude for all of those little things, it builds up, and then you now become a little bit more healthier in the mind, right? Like I said, 80% of our thoughts are either in the past or negative thoughts. But when you're able to build a gratitude mindset, that starts to shift a little bit. And I think a lot of people don't recognize how important that is sometimes, right? So, when you're complaining, ask yourself, like, is this allowing me to have gratitude for other things, right? And why am I complaining? What is the reason for that, right? And not to say that you shouldn't complain at some point, because we're all humans, right? We all have something to complain about at some point. However, it's at the extent of which you complain in that allows you to either shift from a healthy mindset to an or unhealthy mindset, right? The next thing I want to talk about is never likes to learn or not willing to learn. And I'm going to talk about this from several different perspectives, right? When I'm talking about never like to learn, right, is either you don't want to learn more about yourself, right? Because to get to understand yourself, you must learn about yourself. You got to learn about what you like, what you don't like, what your boundaries are, right? You got to learn about what makes you happy, what makes you unhappy, what makes you tick, what makes you don't tick, right? So when you are open to learning, you learn more about yourself. Also, just learning about the world, right? Learning about how the world exists, how other people exist, right? Because when you're able to learn how other people exist in the world, then you might have empathy for, other people as well. And I also want to talk about never open to learn, in the sense that when someone gives you feedback, right? And you put a brick wall there, and when they give you that feedback, whatever it's constructive criticism, or if it's whatever feedback they give you, right? And you think, oh my God, why is this person criticizing me in this moment, right? That's you not being open to learn, right? One of the things that my high school coach used to tell us is, you got to be a sponge, right? You have to be a sponge. You have to be willing to take, feedbacks from other people, right? And one thing that has allowed me to have this perspective or have this type of shift in my mentality is the fact that when someone says something to me, when they give me a constructive, feedback, I oftentimes look at it as they're trying to help me grow, right? And I don't take it personal, because a lot of times when people give us feedback, we take it personal. We think that they're attacking our character. We think that they're attacking us, right? Because, again, I'm going to repeat it, that 80% of our mindset is a bit negative. So when someone is giving you constructive criticism, right, you immediately attach it to that negative mindset. So I just want to keep this perspective out there, like, be open to accepting other people giving you feedback. Be open to accepting other people giving you constructive criticism or constructive feedback. So, like I was saying, it's important for us to be open minded, right? I just want to remind you listening right now, be a sponge, right? Like Coach Drake would say, be a sponge. The next thing I want to talk about with unhealthy mindset is afraid of investing, right? Investing in yourself, investing in other people, investing in something creative, right? Investing in wanting to know your dark night of soul, right? Because I think in today's society, a lot of us are afraid to go down that healing journey, right? Because to go down that healing path, you need to be willing to want to invest in yourself, right? When you are trying to heal yourself, it just doesn't happen accidentally, right? That's one of the things that I've come to realize. Just as success doesn't happen accidentally, success happen with you putting break by break, time after time, spending hours, doing it over and over. And by you doing those things is you investing in you wanting to seek success in your life, right? It's just the same way when you are trying to have a more quote unquote positive mindset, or when you are trying to have a healthier mindset, like I would say, right? You have to be willing to invest in yourself, because the moment you start to invest in yourself, the moment you begin to see healing actually take place in your life, right? You start to go back and peeling out the onion layers that of all the wounds that you have, right? You go back to that trauma that happened maybe 10 years ago, right? Because you sit with self, you do self reflection. If you need to talk to a therapist, you go ahead, you talk to a therapist, right? That is you investing in yourself. And I want to encourage everyone today. It is important for us to start investing in ourselves, because once we start to invest in ourselves, we find our core, the true authentic self within us, which means that we don't go outside of ourselves seeking validation, because one of the things that is not allowing us to invest in ourselves today is because we are looking for other people to validate us. But when you are able to invest in yourself, you won't go out looking for that, right? Because you know that you have spent the time with yourself, getting to know yourself, right? The next thing I want to talk about is fear of change, which kind of ties in with investing in yourself with for me, because when you're afraid of change, I believe that is an unhealthy mindset, because when you're afraid of change, you don't take chances. And when you don't take chances, or when you don't bet on yourself, now you are allowing that opportunity for other people to be able to disappoint you if they don't do what you want them to do, right? But when you're not afraid of making changes in your life, you are in control of yourself. You have the power to be able to alter the wheel, right? And I'm going to use myself as an example in this space, right? I think one of the things that I was very afraid of is actually sitting in front of a camera and talking in front of a camera. That's why I had an audio podcast for a really long time, maybe over a year or so. I was doing audio podcasts because I was afraid of change, right? But I got to realize to a point where if I want to grow my podcast, if I want to evolve, if I want to change the dynamic of my podcast, I have to be willing to change what I'm doing, right? I have to be willing to get in front of a camera. I have to be willing to invest that time in myself to build that self confidence to be able to sit in front of a camera, right? I'm still working on it, y'all, but it's important for us to cultivate that mindset where we are open to change, right? Because also, when you are open to change, you understand that the obstacles that you face in life are normal, right? Because everyone goes through challenging times, everyone goes through painful times, everyone goes through difficult times. All of us have something that is going to push us down or push us back, right? But when you accept change, when you're open to having that healthier mindset of being open to change, when you do face that challenging moment, you realize that that is a moment of you to that is a moment where you get to actually learn, right? You use that perspective shift there and actually recognize that this is an opportunity for you to grow yourself, right? So I want to encourage you in this moment, like, be open to change, and change is good, right? When we stay stagnant, when we stay in the same place, when we stay in the same mindset, right, that's when that depression starts to creep in, because we start to think that our life isn't shifting the way that we want it to, right? Which maybe it just needs you to change something very very light, something small in your life, and then you get to see a different type of perspective. The next thing that I want to talk about in on a unhealthy mindset is living in anxiety. And a lot of us actually live in anxiety. And I don't want to say, before I move on, I want to say anxiety is a normal emotion that we all feel, right? Everybody feels anxiety at some point in their life. Before I started doing this podcast episode today, I had a little bit of anxiety, right? However, I want to say that that anxiety is a message, right? If you can alter your perspective in this space and look at it like, the anxiety you're feeling in that moment is your body is communicating with you. It's up to you to recognize what your body is telling you, right? For example, when I wanted to start this podcast episode, I felt a little bit anxiety, or I felt a little anxious. However, I did switch it in my mindset. I might have not said it out loud. I did alter my mindset to saying that I'm excited to actually do this. That's why I'm feeling anxious, right? That's why I was feeling that, that little kick in my body. And a lot of times athletes actually feel this anxiety, and that's what they call adrenaline, right? It's your anxiety in the beginning of the game kind of switch to you having that adrenaline. When you start playing, you don't actually think about the fact that you had anxiety going on, right? You just keep going as an athlete. So I want to just remind you in this moment, like, if you're someone that is feeling anxiety, ask yourself, what is your body trying to communicate with you, right? What is it that you need to switch within yourself to be able to alter that anxiety to make it benefit you, right? Because anxiety is not a bad thing. I think today, in today's society, we look at anxiety as if it's something that we should be running away from it. No, anxiety is not. It's something that is telling you, like, it's an emotion in your body that is telling you, like, hey, Lira, you need to check this part of yourself, right? And that's why I talked about investing in yourself, because if you're able to invest in yourself when you do have anxiety, right? Now you're aligned with yourself. You get to know, like, okay, my anxiety is telling me, like, this is what I need to shift. This is what I need to change. Right now, you get to you're in one with yourself, right? You're in one with the higher consciousness. You're one with the body. You're in one with the spirit. You're one with the soul, and you're one with the godlike consciousness. Therefore, all of those kind of works hand in hand, right? But when you are having anxiety and you're living in an unhealthy mindset, you start to think that everything is falling apart in your life, right? That's what anxiety does. It makes us think that, oh my God, nothing is going well. My life is falling apart. What am I doing wrong? But that's because we're living in an unhealthy mindset. But if we can switch that perspective there, right, we get to see that anxiety is actually a superpower. The next thing I want to talk about is low self-esteem. Low self-esteem is something that is killing a lot of us today in our society, why we seek validation from everybody other than ourselves because of low self-esteem, right? We think that we need to present ourselves in a certain way. Not to say that you shouldn't, carry yourself in a certain manner, right? But low self-esteem comes from you having lack of self-worth and lack of confidence, right? So if you can now start to develop that mindset of actually learning that your low self-esteem is because you need confidence in this area in your life. Let's say you need confidence in cleaning up yourself. You need confidence in you cutting your hair, trimming your hair, allowing your hair to look nice, right? Your low self-esteem might be coming from wanting more for yourself. Let's say you want to switch your job, right? You feel like the job that you're at is not allowing you to feel the way that you need to feel, right? Maybe you start to feel insecure, or you have insecurity about your job in that space. That's your body telling you, like, maybe you should go outside your comfort zone. Maybe you should go look somewhere else, right? Because you're feeling that low self-esteem, it's allowing you to have that 80% negative mindset, right? So, you know, before I continue, I just want us to know, like, all of these things that I'm mentioning is something that we all go through, right? It is just the perspective switch. And that's why I continue to use the word perspective here, because it's all about you altering the mind, looking at things from a different perspective. The second to the last thing on our unhealthy mindset list that we're going to talk about is jealousy, right? And jealousy often stems from lack of confidence. And lack of confidence is also attached to low self esteem, right? A lot of us are jealous about other people's success. A lot of us are jealous about what other people are doing because we ourselves are insecure in the inside. We ourselves harbor that hate within ourselves, then we project it onto other people, and that starts to look as jealousy, right? So in this moment, I want you to be able to look within self and recognize, like, why am I jealous of this person, or why am I jealous about that thing? One of the things that we talk about jealousy in today's society is that Black men are often jealous about other Black men, right? When a Black man have success, other Black men are jealous about them, right? And I think that is stemming from self-hate, right? Because if you're confident with what you have, if you understand that what you can bring to this world, nobody else can, even if they're doing the same thing. Once you recognize that what you can bring to this world is only you that can bring to this world, I don't I honestly don't think like you will have room for jealousy, right? You might have room for admiration, which is important. It is important for us to admire other people. It is important for us to acknowledge other people, right? But once you are able to understand within yourself that there's no need for you to jealous another person, right? You actually release yourself from harboring that hate and now start to work in your own purpose, right? You now start to understand that what I am called for here on this planet, what I am here for on this planet, nobody else can present that in this world the way that I can do it. Therefore, I have no need to be jealous about another person, which is going to allow you to alter your mindset from that negative mindset or from that unhealthy mindset to a more positive mindset, right? Because when we look into our society today, when we bring it down to the gang culture, I truly believe that there is some type of hatred in that space. And because there's that hatred in that space, we continue to see violence in our society today. And the reason why we continue to see violence in our society today is because there's a lot of self-hate that actually takes place in ourselves. So in this moment, I just want to remind you, it's all within self, right? Everything that I'm talking about, it all stems from self. You have to look within yourself and ask yourself, what is it that is causing me to be jealous about another person or another thing, right? Because it's not what they are doing that is causing you to be jealous. It's what you are lacking within yourself that is causing you to be jealous about another person's success or about another person, I don't know, whatever they have in their life, right? And the last thing I want to talk about on our unhealthy mindset list for today is people pleasing. So many of us out here in this world are out here trying to please other people. We're trying to make sure that other people like us. We're trying to make sure that, people find us in a certain type of light, right? We would do things for people just so that they can like us, right? I have fallen victim in this space myself and I'm still learning, right? But when we continue to please other people, we're dismissing a part of ourselves, right? Because once you see that you are pleasing, you're people pleasing, oftentimes when you look back, you're unhappy with the decision that you made because most of the time when you're people pleasing is it doesn't really align with you. It's what that person want, not what you want, right? And because you're doing something else that somebody else want, is now making you upset within yourself, right? Because you're asking yourself, like, I didn't even want to do that. So why did I do it? And then you're in the back end very upset, right? Which allows you to become passive aggressive, right? And a lot of times when we are passive aggressive, we oftentimes don't take it on the person that we were trying to please. We take it out on other people, right? Let's say, you were people pleasing with your spouse, right? And you go to work. The next thing you notice is that you're being rude to your coworkers. You're being aggressive towards your coworkers, right? You're not being very friendly, you're not being kind at workplace. But it's not what that is going on at your job, right? It's not because the job is challenging. It's not because your coworkers were not nice to you. It's not because you are having a hard time at work, right? It's because at home you were trying to people please whoever was at home. You are trying to people please your spouse. Therefore, now that energy gets to transfer into your work, and now you're being mean to all your coworkers. They're catching all this backlash for something that they have no idea, but it's because you yourself are trying to people please, right? So that is an unhealthy mindset that I think a lot of us are struggling with today, right? We're going to switch gears a little bit and we're going to talk about healthy mindsets. Go ahead and check out Prolong, guys. Prolong is a fasting mimicking program where there's a 5-day fasting mimicking program where you can reset your body. The goal for Prolong is that it resets your body where if you go on a prolonged diet for 2 times or 3 times a year, you literally reverse your age 2.5 years. So you get younger over and over, and every time you use Prolong, you're getting younger and younger. So I know I want to stay young forever. I don't know about you. So tap into.
We're gonna have to try it.
So tap into Prolong. They have different things. They have bars. They have soup. They have tea. They have a little spread. So check out Prolong, and I'm really grateful for Prolong. And if you use our discount code SELF10, you can get 20% off. Go ahead. Hey guys, thank you guys so much for joining me on Self Reflection Podcast. I hope and I pray that that first part of this podcast found you in a great light. I hope that, what I'm talking about today is resonating with you, right? I hope that, you're going to have, find some benefit in whatever we're talking about today, right? Because like I said, I wanted to switch the perspective here, right? I wanted to switch it from a negative mindset to a positive mindset to an unhealthy mindset to a healthy mindset, because I think we need to start looking at our mindset as healthy and unhealthy, right? Because when we talk about negative mindset, that has a negative energy to it, right? So I want us to look at it from a health perspective. So we are going to dive into a healthy mindset, right? The first thing that I want to talk about in having a healthy mindset is living in the present, right? The first thing I talked about on unhealthy mindset was living in the past. So for a healthy mindset, the first thing I want to talk about is living more in the present, right? Living in the present is one of those things that are super challenging if you want to make it challenging, right? I know that 80% of our thoughts are of the past. I understand that 80% of our thoughts are on, repeat, right? And I understand that 80 to 90% of our thoughts are negative thoughts. So it makes it really, really challenging for us to break away from that, I don't know, box that we have been programmed to be in, right? It makes it really challenging. However, I do want to say that there is that possibility of us living in the present right now, right? And for that shift to happen, you have to recognize, is your mindset healthy or unhealthy? And that's where self reflection, comes in, right? That's when you get to sit with self. You talk to self. You talk to the godlike self, right? You analyze what you're thinking. You analyze where your mindset is, right? And also, when it comes on to living in the present, it takes time, it takes work. It needs you to invest in yourself, right? Because a lot of us spend so much time outside of ourselves. And when I say outside of ourselves, is a lot of us spend time not thinking about us, right? And I know that there's this idea in society that self love is so selfish. When you talk about self love, I've had so many people, message me and say, oh, self love is such a selfish thing to do. Actually, self love is not. Right, because self love is what is going to allow you to bring yourself in the present, and self love is going to allow you to be able to love and acknowledge another person. Because what self love does is allows you to have empathy, to have compassion, to have understanding, and also to see yourself for who you are. And because you're able to see yourself from that perspective, that's how you're going to see other people, because you cannot give what you don't have. That's the reality, right? They say your cup has to be full for you to pour in other people's cup, right? Because if your cup is half empty, once you start pouring into other people's cup, there's nothing left for you to have. So, for you to live in the present, right, for you to start aligning yourself in the present moment, you got to pour into your own cup, right? And it all stems from what? Self reflection, right? Self reflection literally is the pathway to you finding your true self. Self reflection is the pathway to you bringing yourself to the present moment. And one of those ways that you can bring yourself to the present is begin to practice meditation, right? And when we use the word meditation, right, a lot of people think you got to sit there and and do a 30-minute meditation or an hour meditation. No. Meditation is you literally sitting there for maybe a minute sometimes and just sit, not think, right? Meditation is you getting off work and sitting in your car for 5 minutes, not scrolling your phone, right? Not try to think about X, Y, and Z. Just allow your thoughts to flow and just let it happen naturally, right? Meditation is also you driving in your car on your way to work or back from work, at the stoplight or at the stop sign, turning off that music and just let your mind run. That is a form of meditation. When we talk about meditation, oftentimes we think we have to do this thing that is drastic. No, you don't. right? And the reason why I mentioned those things, especially the last one, which is like turning off your radio, right? Driving without music sometimes, or just stopping at the stoplight while that 30 seconds roll or however long the light takes to switch, is that when you're able to do that, you bring yourself to the present because you're able to notice everything that is around you, which is one of the ways that you can, you know, allow yourself to literally be conscious about what is happening around you, right? Because that's how you bring yourself to the present. And then another way that you could bring yourself to the present is that when you are at home, right? You want to bring yourself to the present. You turn off everything, turn off the music, turn off the radio, turn off the TV, and you just sit in your room or in your living room and name whatever you see in that space. Let's say you see a cup, you name a cup. You see a television, you name a television. You see your kids playing, right? You name whatever they're playing with, right? That is you bringing yourself in the present. And the more that you can practice that, the more that you're going to bring your awareness to the present moment, right? So living in the present is one of the ways that you could cultivate a healthier mindset, because when you are living in the present, you cannot be thinking about the past and you cannot be worrying about the future, right? You allow yourself to just be in the moment, right? And when you're able to be in the moment, that is you creating peace with self. The second thing I want to talk about is learn from your mistakes, right? Life is a merry-go-round, right? Life just happens in a circle. Whatever goes up must come down. And it just goes in a circle over and over. The same mistakes that you have made today, you've probably made 10 years ago. Right? It might have showed up in a different form. It might have showed up in a different, I don't know, shape, size, whatever it is, right? But you have probably made those same mistakes, right? So wanting to learn from your mistakes is a healthy mindset, because when those same lessons shows up in your life, right? And I'm using the word lesson here. We can also use challenge, right? When those same challenges shows up, you're now aware of that, like, hey, I've been here before, right? What didn't work for me? What did I do in this space that allow me not to feel good about myself, right? What did I do in this space that allow me to quote unquote fail in that space? I'm using quotes around here because I don't think there's anything about there. I don't think there's such thing as failure, right? You either get a result or you either learn a lesson from it, right? There's no like failure. You don't fail at anything. There's nothing as that, right? So when you're able to be open to making mistakes or learning from your mistakes, right, it allows you to progress in your life. It allows you to grow in that space. The next thing I want to talk about is um, help others, right? Help others in a sense that you can just literally open the door for someone else, right? And because you open the door for someone else, there's this thing that when you do positive things for other people, naturally your body gives you like a sense of self worth, right? When you do things for people in a positive way, with an open mind of like, I'm just looking to help, not people please, right? Those are two different things, right? When you're looking to help other people, that energy comes back to you. Like I said, everything that goes up comes down, right? So when you help other people, that same type of energy comes back to you, right? Whatever you put out there in the universe will return back to you, right? And also, when I talk about helping other people, I want to put this perspective out there. If you are someone that is looking for their purpose, if you're someone that is looking for what they were put here on this planet to do, I want you to look at yourself and ask yourself, what is it am I good at? Because whatever you're good at, right, there's somebody out there that needs that type of service, right? So when you cultivate your mindset from that perspective, you see that once you start doing the thing that you love, once you start doing that passion of yours, right, it allows you to help another person. So if you're someone that is in a space where you're wondering like, what am I supposed to be doing with my life, look within yourself, like, how can I be of service to another person? How can I be of service to this world? Because that's the whole point that we're here in this world. We're here to give back the gifts that are within us, right? So when you're holding on to your gift, is you not helping other people, right? Is you not supporting other people. So I want to encourage you in this moment, right? Look to help other people, right? Look to see what can you bring to this world. Look to see what can you support other people with. The next thing I want to talk about with, when it comes down to having a healthy mindset is doesn't complain, right? Like I said, we all complain all the time, but if you are complaining about everything, right? Someone slams a door, you complain about that. Someone walks in front of you, you're cursing them out, you're telling them this, you're telling them that, right? That isn't a healthy mindset because you are carrying that negative energy in front of you, right? Or with you. But when something happens, and you kind of just allow it to happen, right? In that moment, you become okay with it, right? That is you not complaining about things. And when you don't complain about things, you see that you attract more of the healthy things that you actually want in your life, right? Because complaining kind of pushes the things that you actually want to the side and brings you more of that negative energy that kind of draws you down, and it just leaves you feeling icky. And when you complain, like, think about it, right? When you're complaining, let's say you complain in the morning, right? You go about your day, you're kind of upset about the whole thing, right? You start to be upset about what everybody else is doing, right? And because you're upset about that, you're not living in the present. And because you're not living in the present, you're living in that 80% to 90% negative mindset. And because you're living in that mindset, now you're unhealthy, right? You're starting to see, like, oh my God, my back is hurting, my neck is hurting, I'm in pain, right? Because a lot of the time, most of our physical pain is mental pain, right? And like I said, it's just a switch of perspective here, right? Um, also, constantly learning, right? When you are constantly learning, that is a healthy mindset. That is you being open to other people giving you constructive criticism, right? Because when people give you constructive criticism, you're not taking it personal, right? You know that this is something that is going to allow you to grow. This is going to allow you to flourish, right? This is going to allow you to be a better version of yourself. Also, when you are willing and open to learn, right, you're willing to invest that type of time in yourself as well. And because you're willing to invest that type of time in yourself, you get to know self a little bit more, right? The next thing that we're going to talk about on our healthy mindset list is quitting bad habits, right? This is something that we all fall victim to, right? And one of my bad habits that I'm really trying to quit for a long time now is actually scrolling on my phone, right? Not just sitting there and like going through social media and just going over and over and over and over, right? That's one of the habits that I wish I could just like I have a magic wand to make it disappear. However, right, being able to quit a bad habit is such a healthy mindset because it allows you to create room for other things, right? You know, for example, if you are someone that is struggling with drug and alcohol abuse, right? If you are able to quit that bad habit, it's going to allow you room to have more time for the people that you love, is going to allow you to have more time for the things that you actually want to do in your life. Is going to allow you to love yourself a little bit more because when you are addicted to something like something as severe as drugs, right? It takes you away from yourself and it takes you away from the people that love you and it takes you away from the things that you love to do, which now makes you depressed, right? Which makes you sad, which makes you have an unhealthy mindset, right? So being able to quit something and quit that bad habit that you're doing, right, is such a healthy mindset. And I think that a lot of times we don't give credit to that, right? So in this space, I just want to encourage us and just, acknowledge us for if you're someone that has quit a bad habit, I want to acknowledge you in this space. Like it takes so much strength for you to do that. So I just want to recognize you in this moment, right? Because being able to quit a bad habit is challenging, right? Because we are beings of repetition, right? We like to do the same things over and over, right? If you notice, like when you if you have a morning routine that is a subconscious program, that is not a program that you purposefully put there, right? A routine that isn't something that you purposefully like set for yourself, right? If you are someone that is living on that unconscious programming, if you notice starting from today, right, just try to pay attention. See, like you're gonna see that you do the same thing. Maybe it's you just waking up, first thing you look at your phone, you spend like 10 minutes on your phone, and then you just turn around and lay back on your bed, right? You're going to see a pattern there that happens over and over and over, right? So be mindful of that, because those are the things that allow us to have an unhealthy mindset, and the goal here is to be able to have a healthy mindset. And then the next thing I want to talk about on our healthy mindset is being able to quiet the mind, right? Being able to have the mind have a moment of silence, right? One of the things that I kind of wrote down here is one must learn to silence the mind, for only then can we be, right? We must learn to silence our mind, for only then can we be, because we can only be in the present, right? We cannot be in the past and we cannot be in the future, because the only moment that truly exists is the now, right? So having that mindset, or being able to create that 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, right? To be in the moment, to be in the present is such a healthy thing that a lot of us neglect every single day, right? So I just want to remind us in this moment, like create that time to do some self-reflection, right? The other thing that I want to talk about here is being able to connect with yourself, right? Having a healthy mindset is you being able to know what you want, being able to know how to care for yourself, being able to know how to love yourself, how to talk to yourself, right? How to be able to relate whatever you have to say, right, to other people, because that is how you know that you are aligned with who you are, right? And also being able to connect with yourself allows you to align with your purpose, allows you to align with what you actually want to do, allows you to be able to express yourself creatively, right, the way that you actually want to. And the only way that you can literally get to that space is actually having a healthy mindset where you actually create that time to get to know self, right? And I want to remind you again, self reflection is one of those ways that you can get to know yourself in that way. It is super important for us to be able to connect with ourselves, right? Because I'm going to give this example here real quick. When we are trying to connect with other people, when it comes down to being in an intimate relationship, I feel like oftentimes we're waiting for people to fill a gap that is within ourselves, instead of us connecting with ourselves and filling that gap, and then allowing that person to just be, right? Instead, we wait for other people to come in our life and fill that void that is in them. But when you're able to connect with yourself, when you're able to understand yourself, when you're able to know what you are missing within yourself, right? You're not looking for your partner to fill that for you, right? And I think that's something that we see in today's society. A lot of us are looking for other people to fill that gap that is within ourselves. The next thing, second to the last thing that we're going to talk about is, having an open, being open to challenges, right? Being open to going through a difficult times, being open to failing, quote unquote, failing, right? Being open to things not working out, right? Because I think a lot of times we, when we go through a challenging time, or when we don't succeed in something, we feel like we are failures, right? We feel like we're not doing well. We feel like we're not succeeding, right? Which that leaves us in an unhealthy mindset. But when we switch that perspective and have an open mindset to it, and have a healthy mindset or a positive mindset to it, we're more open to receiving challenges in our life, right? We now see the challenges, like I said, growing opportunities, right? Because we all need those um challenging moments in our life to excel, right? If we have no challenges in our life, I think we're all going to stay the same. We're never going to learn, we're never going to grow, right? So have an open mindset of facing challenging moments, because once you have that type of mentality, right, and once you actually go through a challenging moment, you're not beating yourself down, right? You're actually uplifting yourself, you're motivating yourself, you're empowering yourself, you're encouraging yourself in that challenging moment. Because once what we see today is that when someone is going through a challenging moment, they're calling themselves all type of name. I'm a bitch, I'm not good, I suck, I'm this, I'm that, right? Which that doesn't help. That actually allows you to feel more shitty, you know. But when you're able to switch that perspective and start to encourage yourself and motivate yourself and empower yourself, right? You're now uplifting yourself, you're not pushing yourself, you're not seeing that, okay, I can actually get through this, right? I can actually do this, right? So I just want to have remind you to be open to challenging moments, because we all face challenges at some point. The last thing I want to talk about here for a healthy mindset is taking action, right? That is one thing that many of us get stuck at, right? When you have a healthy mindset, you want to be able to take actions, because when you're able to take action, you see yourself progressing. It allows you to feel good about what you're doing, right? But when you don't take action and you see yourself in the same place over and over, it doesn't allow you to feel that good about yourself. But when you're able to take action in your journey, wherever you go, right? When you're able to take action, when it comes down to healing the body, right? When you're able to take action in seeing a therapist, wanting to talk to someone, wanting to do some self reflection, wanting to care for your mental health, wanting to prioritize your own needs, right? Setting healthy boundaries. When you're able to take action in that space, it allows you the room to also create space for other people, right? And when you're able to do that, creating space for other people and creating space for yourself, it creates a healthy environment, in the mind and with yourself. Thank you guys again for joining me on Self Reflection Podcast. I hope that this podcast episode really found you in a great, great space, and I hope that you got some great value in this podcast episode, right? Because, I wanted to just change the narrative of how we look at positive mindset versus negative mindset, right? Like I said in the beginning, negative mindset has a heavy energy towards it, right? So I want us to look at our mindset as, is my mindset healthy, or is my mindset unhealthy, right? And from that perspective, right, you can say, okay, what is it that I could do to develop a healthy mindset? Just like, when you have a headache, right? You just don't sit with it, right? When you have a headache, you want to take a Tylenol, paracetamol, aspirin, whatever, to make it feel better. Same here. If you have an unhealthy mindset, you want to what? Do some self-reflection, talk to a friend, talk to a therapist. You want to take the necessary actions that is going to allow you to have a healthier mindset. I want to say thank you guys again for joining me on Self Reflection Podcast. If you have yet to subscribe to Self Reflection Podcast, please go ahead and hit that subscription button. Also, if you are not following us on our YouTube channel, please go follow us on our YouTube channel. We have started to upload all our old videos. So please go ahead and follow us on our YouTube channel. You can find us at Self Reflection by Lira Ndifon. I really appreciate everyone that tune into Self Reflection week after week after week to listen to Self Reflection podcast. Thank you guys again. I hope you guys have a blessed day. Take care of yourself, love yourself, be kind, and be gentle with yourself. Until next time. Bye for now.